Queer Avengers Assemble. We need to discuss these books, okay? Okay. So I'm reviewing these as a watcher of the Heated Rivalry series. I know I'm late to the party, but look, after I watched Heated Rivalry, I was like, well, now I need to read the books. So I have read Game Changer, Heated Rivalry, and The Long Game, and I'm now going to review them all in one video. So let's start with Game Changer. First of all, can I just say to those of you on Reddit, because I had to research, I was like, what order do I read these books in? Do I read Heated Rivalry first, or do I read Game Changer first? Because it's obviously the first book that Rachel Reid wrote in the series. People saying, oh, you can skip Game Changer. The audacity. What do you mean? What do you mean? People who are like, oh, skip Game Changer, skips episode. Absolutely not. Thank you very much. So I read Game Changer first. Okay, can I just say there is no Holinov without Skip? I'm glad I've got that out of the way. My first jump scare in this book was Scott has blonde hair. Excuse me? Now, I know that's the original lore, okay? But after watching the show, I was like, when I read, like, oh, Scott's blonde hair, I was like, his what? You know when you're imagining a character in a certain way, and then a book is like, oh, his long hair. Don't even get me started on this book with Shane's hair. Anyway, we'll get to that. And it's like, oh, his long hair, and you're like, no, that's not a thing. That's not canon in my head. But I got used to the blonde hair because I know that is the original canon of the book, not the show. But I love Skip. This book made me appreciate Skip even more. It made me go back and watch Heated Rivalry, literally just the episode that skipped that. I can't remember which one is it, episode 4, episode 3? It's one of those two. It made me go back and watch that episode because it made me appreciate them even more. And I was like, now I need to see all of the scenes I have just read in this book in real time again. I know that the show missed out a lot of Skip because they literally had an episode to put all of this in. But, oh, wow. Masterpiece. The other thing, can I just say with this book, like I've said, the TV show missed out an awful lot. The book makes Scott look less insane. Because in the show, when it was like they had like their first night together, and Scott immediately was like, please move in. I was like, he's a little cuckoo, but that's okay, we love him. At least in the book, it's like Kip doesn't move in for a long time. Do you know what I mean? Scott is still like, oh, I'd like you to be here in the morning, I'd like you to stay over, and Kip stays over a lot. But they don't immediately move in after a one-night stand. Like, when I watched the show, I was like, wow, Kip must have been good. Because that was a little crazy on Scott's behalf, I have to say. Now, can I just say, I knew that the kiss on the ice was coming. I still cried when I read it. Wow. So yeah, Game Changer, masterpiece. Anyone who says to skip it, you are wrong, and I hate you. That was a bit aggressive, I'm very sorry. But I gave this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The only reason for that, because this is a masterpiece, do not get me wrong. The only reason for that is because I believe Rachel Reid's writing in this book wasn't as good as it became in Heated Rivalry and Long Game. Now, I know I can't talk because my writing is probably absolutely trash in comparison, but I'm just saying, I feel like the writing in this, which is fair enough because it was like the first book in the series, right? You're not going to expect it to be the most perfect writing that out of the whole series. But yeah, the writing in this book, I would say, wasn't as good as it became in Heated Rivalry and Long Game, but still a masterpiece. That's why I got 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to Heated Rivalry. Obviously, I watched the show, so not a lot in this book surprised me. The one thing I will say is, where was Ilya's chest bear tattoo in the show? Like, were there discussions about this, or was it just not there? Because that was another jump scare when I read these books. I was like, he has a bear tattoo on his chest? That's new. I also love how this ugly bear tattoo became a main character. I love her, and she is a her. I believe that. But yeah, why was that not in the show? Did they have conversations and they were like, you know what, kind of story won't look as sexy with a bear tattoo, it might look a bit odd? Or were they just like, that's too much, we don't want that? I don't know. There's probably been interviews on this that I've not watched and everyone's going to comment like, you stupid bitch. I don't know why I'm so aggressive today, oh my god. But yeah, that was something that did surprise me in this book, was that bear tattoo. I also love, because I was expecting this to start, you know, like where the show starts, where it's that scene, can't remember where they are. They're outside a building and Ilya's smoking and Shane approaches him. I thought that's where we were going to start. We got straight into the action here. This is like, it starts with a jump forward when they're like, you know, doing what they usually do. And I think the whole thing is like it's at the point where they're starting to fall in love with each other. And I think it's in Shane's point of view, and he's like, yeah, I need to get out of this situation. And then we get straight into the book where it is, when they meet, when Ilya's smoking and Shane's like, you're not supposed to smoke out here. So I loved that, because I loved that we sort of got a glimpse into their future where it's Shane like, I'm falling in love, I need to put an end to this. And then obviously later on in the book we kind of skip that scene because we've already had it, and it gets to, both of them are like, we need to end this, we're falling in love, and we know they don't we? We know they don't. So I wasn't stressed. The skip kiss in this book, I don't know what page it's on. I would read you an extract. I should have put post-it notes in this before. But when I think it's like in Ilya's point of view, and it describes it as like there's a tornado of all the bad things in Ilya's life being swept away when this kiss happens. And someone pointed out they kind of reflect that in the show, because the camera is like moving around Shane and Ilya whilst this kiss is happening. Masterpiece. I'm sorry, masterpiece. And I know this is like more reviewing the TV show than the book, but the TV show did so well, I think, to make an adaptation of these books, because wow, like there was not a moment that I read these books and went, ooh, the show should have done that. Do you know what I mean? I think they did so well. Moving on to the long game. Now I have a lot to say about her, because obviously we've not seen her yet as an adaptation. She was brand new to me. I was going into this not knowing what to expect, and now I'm scared for Unrivaled. Anyway, so first of all, like I said, well, first of all, to whoever decided to print this sticker on the book and not do it as a sticker, death. I'm sorry, that no, you know what, I do love seeing their faces, but I don't like stickers on books, and I wish I could take that off. Anyway, first of all, Shane's hair. I'm not sure how I feel. Whenever it was like, oh, his long hair down to his shoulders, he puts it in a bun, I was like, does he? Does he? Now, that's not me saying Hudson Williams will not be able to pull that off in season 2, but long hair on men is not a thing that I like necessarily. And also, every time I read about Shane's long hair, I kept looking at the cover, and I was like, are you sure? Because he doesn't have long hair on the cover, so canonically in my head he does not have long hair. But anyway, that's not the most important part of this book, is it really? Wow, she was, the amount of times I cried, the amount of times I laughed, the amount of times I just had to stop reading, the amount of times I couldn't stop reading. Like, are you joking? Now, obviously in this book, we see Shane and Ilya finally in a relationship. I mean, they're not fully out yet, but they have started their charity where they've got the hockey camps. That was cute. I'm sorry, I loved that. And they are out to like a few people. So I think at the start, isn't it, like Hayden, there's Ryan Price, which I know there's a book about. I will read the rest of these series. I was like, I just need to read like the main Heated Rivalry books so that I'm prepared for season 2. But I will likely go and read the rest of them, because there are a lot of characters obviously popping up that are in the other books, and I know that. Oh, and I forgot to say, sorry, with Heated Rivalry, I love that Svetlana in the show became like a kind of main character. Do you know? Because in the book, she's not really. It's like she's mentioned as one of like the people that Ilya hooks up with, but in the show, she's like one of his best friends. I loved that. I love that they made that change in the show, because I feel like Shane had Rose and Ilya needed someone like that he could confide in, and also kind of knew what was going on with Shane and Ilya, which obviously that does happen in the long game. Ilya retouches, that's not the word, and that's a really weird word, reconnects, there we go, with Svetlana, and they become friends, and he tells her all about Shane. I loved that. I love that Ilya has Svetlana, because this book, obviously we find out about Ilya's depression, and when I was reading it, I could see both sides, because obviously Ilya is suffering from depression. He's lonely. He's given up his whole life to be with Shane. He's moved to Ottawa. He hates like hockey. Well, he doesn't hate hockey. He loves it and he loves the team, but he hates that they're always losing. They're like a really trash team. He never goes out anymore. Like, do you know what I mean? And Shane kind of plays a part in that, but I understand why he didn't really notice it, because like for Shane, I think he was so happy, I think, to have Ilya so close. Do you know what I mean? And they didn't have to wait to see each other as long anymore. They lived really close. And I think Shane was more just excited that he finally had that. and there was this prospect of, you know, they're going to be able to come out when they're retired in 10 years, which was insane, can I just say. But also, I think I understand why Shane didn't see what was happening with Ilya, but I also do understand when people say that Shane had his flaws. But anyone who is going to be against Shane in the TV show when all of this happens, I'm against you. Because when and I think Rachel Reid was so clever when she wrote this, because obviously it's in both their point of views. So you see Ilya like growing, not really growing resentment for Shane, but he's just like, come on, how does Shane not notice? Like, when that argument, when Shane is like, oh, would you choose me over hockey? And Ilya's like, I already have. Gagged. He had him there. And I think that was obviously the moment that Shane realised, and he was like, oh my god, yeah, I've like formed this little circle in my life that Ilya is a part of, but Ilya doesn't really have his own life anymore. And that's what I mean. I feel like it was so cleverly written, because in Shane's point of view, you understood why Shane couldn't see all this going on, because I feel like as well, Ilya was kind of not pushing Shane away, but whenever Shane asked if he was all right, asked, you know, do you think you should go get professional help? Ilya was like, I'm fine, don't worry about it. And what else could Shane do? Like, if Ilya's like, I'm fine, Shane doesn't really want to push, do you know what I mean? So I do see why sort of the both sides of that. But I'm not ready to see that plane scene. And a lot of people are theorizing that season 2 is going to end on a cliffhanger with the plane scene. If that is done, I am done. I am done. Because are you joking? I was crying at work. Don't tell people I read at work. I was on my break, it's fine. I was crying. I mean, it was great because obviously they'd sort of had this whole argument where Ilya was like, does Shane not realise that I've given up everything to be with him? And Shane was like, oh my god, I finally realised like why Ilya is so depressed and so lonely. So it was great because it kind of forced them to finally be like, oh, life is short. Like, let's just stop being petty. Let's actually talk about this. So that was great. But I could not imagine being in Shane's shoes. Imagine seeing those texts from Ilya. Like, I'm glad that Ilya landed, managed to call and text him to say, don't worry about those messages, I'm fine. Because if Shane had like left, I can't remember, was he at a game? I think he was at a game. If he'd have left a game and just seen these messages of like, I'm always in your heart, I'd be like, what? I'd have been like, excuse me, what? Like, and obviously that was the push for Shane to propose to Ilya. Now, I screamed. I actually screamed. And I'm not like saying I screamed, because I actually did. Like, you know when some people are like, oh, I screamed, and they're actually just there like, no, I screamed. Like, when it was, when Ilya walked into the house and there were all the candles there, and he was like, I have this memory of saying to Shane that I would cover, was it the deck at the cottage? I can't remember words, okay? He was like, oh, I'll cover like the deck or the patio or whatever at the cottage in candles when I proposed to Shane. And Shane has done it in Ilya's house. And Ilya was like, oh my god, I know what's going to happen. And then Shane sank to one knee. I was not expecting that in this book, because I was like, I knew Unrivaled was coming out. So I was expecting Long Game to end with like them making up, them agreeing that, you know, they might come out sooner. I didn't expect like a whole marriage and shit to happen in this book. So I was like, excuse me? And of course Ilya said yes, thank god. And they agreed that they were gonna get married in the summer, which very fast engagement. I was surprised. But then again, they only got married in Ilya's backyard, didn't they? So it wasn't like they had like a whole venue and stuff to plan. But they were gonna get married and come out in the summer. I was like, Shane is taking big steps here, because I know my boy gets stressed. I know my boy gets stressed, and I don't blame him for that. I relate to him for that. So I was like, he is taking big steps, because this whole time, obviously, Ilya has kind of been like, well, I don't know if I want to wait 10 years. Like, I kind of just want to be with Shane now and out in the open now. So imagine my feelings towards Hayden fucking Pike. No, it wasn't his fault. But they had this whole plan that they were going to come out in the summer, and they were finally at a point where they were both agreeing with each other, and they were in the same place in this relationship, and they were like, yes, we're going to come out and it's going to be great. To then be outed by a fucking fan mail. Oh. Now, I don't blame Hayden. I know it was a mistake. But maybe let's watch videos back, alright, Hayden? Let's actually look at every single angle that you're filming in before posting anything. Okay, baby? Okay? Anywho, things worked out all right in the end, though, didn't they? I mean, I didn't like that Shane's team just turn their backs on him. Because didn't they know he was gay? Like, maybe, I don't think all of them knew, did they? I think there was only like a few of them who knew. I can't remember. But why did they all just suddenly turn on him? Even JJ, who knew he was gay and was like actively sitting on with people and thought he had a crush on Ilya, was then like, you're gross. Sorry, what? What? Like, I get they're all like, oh, well, you have this rivalry, so that's really weird. Grow up. Grow up. Seriously. I got so mad. So mad. Because they were like his best friends and they were just all turning on him at like the worst time in his life. He has just been outed and you were all stood there just staring at him in the locker room whilst he's being sent home. I wish I could reach through this book and punch people in the face. I really do. But on the other side of that, I loved how supportive Ilya's team were. Because of course we also have Harris and Troy. I do remember his name, which I believe is another book in a series, isn't it? I'm going to have to read this whole series. Because I don't know if... Is it true Troy's going to be in season 2? I think so. Well, I presume so, because obviously he's a big part of this book, because him and Ilya like become friends and come out to each other, which I loved as well. Oh, I loved, because obviously Ilya's whole thing when he talked to his therapist was, I also love that he went to therapy. We love a developed man. This book was just incredible. But his whole thing when he went to his therapist was, well, Shane has come out to people. Like, he has his parents, he has Hayden and JJ. I have no one. So when he finally, like, I know that Troy came out to him first, but when he was able to come out to someone and tell someone, I was like, that's development, and I love that. So yes, where was I even going with this? Oh yeah, Troy and Harris were adorable. Are you joking me? I really am going to have to read the rest of these books because I'm just now too invested in every single character. But yeah, so yeah, I love that Ilya sort of had, I don't know why I'm just holding the book now. I'm just too attached to it. Yeah, I love that Ilya had the support of his team. That was really cute. And I love that they then obviously at the end sort of brought Shane on board, and Shane sort of had a new hockey family and he was able to play with Ilya again. Also the fact that Ottawa, after so long of like losing, started like getting into the playoffs. I was so proud of them. I started just reading this for the hockey. I don't even follow hockey. I don't know what it's about. Well, I do know, but I was reading it like, wow, this team are doing so well and I'm so proud of them. But yeah, and I also love that Scott obviously went round to Ilya's house and he like had a chat with Ilya and Shane, and he was like, look, I'm kind of setting up this group so that we can all speak out against these issues. I loved, you know what, Avengers Assemble, am I right? Queer Avengers Assemble. If I keep talking about this book, this video is going to go on forever. So let's just say this was immaculate in all aspects. 5 out of 5 stars. The wedding at the end, not even just the wedding at the end, the wedding with Hayden's kids. Are you joking? I cannot wait to see that in the show. I'm so excited. But what is going to happen in Unrivaled? Because I've seen theories that Heated Rivalry, the show, is going to, the season 2 and season 3, and it's going to be the split of Long Game is what people are thinking. That they're going to end season 2 halfway through where Long Game is, and then pick up season 3 for the other half of Long Game. That's just, I don't know if that's just theories or if that's true. But where is Unrivaled going to go? Because I feel like this book wrapped everything up. I'm still going to read Unrivaled, and I'm not complaining there's an Unrivaled. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like this book, they came out, they got married, they got a dog. Oh my god, the dog! Anya, she's so cute. I forgot about her. How did I forget about her? But this is what I mean. There were so many things in this. Like, Ilya was healing. This was a whole healing journey for the both of them as well. Because I feel like Shane became a lot more confident by the end. Obviously, he had his whole diet throughout this whole book as well. And at the end, he just gave up on it. He was like, what does it matter anymore? This book, wow, this was a healing journey, you know? So yeah, what's going to happen in Unrivaled? Because they came out, they got married, they had a dog, they moved in together properly, they're now both on the Ottawa Centaurs. What else can happen? I'm excited. Is it going to be a child? Oh my god, are they going to have a baby? Are they going to be dads? So yeah, I'm just excited for Unrivaled because I don't know what's to come now. Like, where else are we going to go in this journey? And I'm excited for that, you know? I don't know what to expect. But and I'm not ending there with the hockey romances. I'm on to Face Off next. That's for book club. They were like, oh, because we're doing a different genre every month. So last month we did what was it called? Crossroads? Crossroads, it's on my shelf over there, which was like a ranch romance. The month before we did that, it was Dark Academia, and then they were like, oh, well, we want to do like a sports romance, and I was like, Heated Rivalry. But obviously I've already read that. So we're going to read Face Off next. I've not started it yet. My bookmark's just in there, get ready to go. So I'm not done with the hockey romances. I mean, this is a straight one, isn't it? It's fine. No, I admire straight romances just as much as I admire the queer ones. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know what we think is going to happen with season 2 of Heated Rivalry and Unrivaled the book. I'm excited to see where we go with that. Rachel Reid, I just admire you. You are my favorite human being right now. Okay, bye!